Can you imagine? This white woman tries to stop this man from picking up his child because he is black with tattoos. She accused him of watching the girls and demanded he leave, implying he was a predator simply for being a black man at a playground, only to discover in a shocking twist that he's actually the millionaire CEO who owns the construction company where her husband just got hired as vice president. If you love interesting stories like this that expose the truth, please give this video a thumbs up and tell us in the comments section where in the world you are watching this video, and also do well to smash that subscribe button. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Sunny Meadows playground as Raymond Williams walked through the entrance, his 8-year-old daughter Brittany skipping beside him. Her pigtails bounced with each step, and her infectious giggle filled the air as she pointed excitedly at the towering slide that dominated the center of the playground. "Daddy, can we go on the big slide first? Please!" Brittany's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Raymond smiled down at his daughter, the same warm smile that had first melted his heart when he met her 3 years ago. "Of course, baby girl. You lead the way." The playground buzzed with activity. Children raced across monkey bars, squealed with delight on swings, and chased each other around the colorful equipment. Mothers sat clustered on benches, their conversations punctuated by occasional calls to their children to be careful or come down from something too high. But as Raymond and Brittany made their way toward the play structure, he noticed the familiar shift in atmosphere. Conversations quieted slightly. Eyes lingered a moment too long. He'd grown accustomed to these reactions over the years. The way people's gazes would travel from his tattooed arms to his face, then to Brittany, questions forming in their minds that they were usually too polite to voice. Barbara Henderson sat on a bench near the entrance, her designer handbag placed carefully beside her, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her phone screen. She was the type of woman who noticed everything in her immediate environment, every detail cataloged and filed away for future reference. When Raymond entered her field of vision, her internal alarm system activated. "Tina," she whispered to the brunette woman sitting beside her. "Do you know that man? I've never seen him here before." Tina looked up from her book, following Barbara's gaze to where Raymond was now pushing Brittany on the swing. "No, I don't think so. He seems nice enough, though. Look how sweet he is with that little girl." Barbara's frown deepened. Something didn't sit right with her. In her mind, pieces of a puzzle were forming, but they weren't creating a picture she liked. A man she'd never seen before, covered in tattoos, at a playground frequented by affluent families from the neighborhood. Her maternal instincts, or what she convinced herself were maternal instincts, kicked into high gear. "Pearson, sweetie," she called to her 6-year-old son, who was climbing the jungle gym nearby. "Why don't you try going down the slide? You can take your new friend with you." But her eyes never left Raymond. She watched as he caught Brittany at the bottom of the slide, spinning her around as she shrieked with laughter. She watched as he helped another child who had fallen, brushing dirt off the boy's knees with the same gentle care he showed his own daughter. None of this registered as evidence of his character. Instead, Barbara's mind raced with possibilities she'd seen on the evening news and read about in Facebook posts shared by concerned parents. Unable to contain her growing anxiety any longer, Barbara stood up and walked toward the play area. Her heels clicked against the rubber playground surface as she approached Raymond, who was now helping Brittany across the monkey bars. "Excuse me." Barbara's voice carried an edge of authority that made several nearby parents look up. "I don't know what it is you're doing here, but this is not the time or place. I need you to leave before I call security." Raymond's hands stilled on the monkey bars. He'd been in this situation before. Not often, but enough times to recognize the tone, the assumption, the barely concealed accusation. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that getting defensive would only make things worse. "I'm just here with my daughter," he said calmly, gesturing to Brittany, who had stopped mid-swing across the bars to look at the angry woman confronting her father. Your daughter? Barbara's eyebrows shot up. Look, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you need to leave. Now. If you don't, I'll have security escort you out. What's it going to be? The playground had gone quiet. Other parents were now openly staring, their children sensing the tension and clustering closer to their guardians. Raymond felt the weight of every gaze, the familiar burn of humiliation and anger rising in his chest. I'm not playing any games, he said, his voice still controlled but firmer now. I'm here because my daughter Brittany wanted to play. We have every right to be here. Daddy? Brittany's small voice cut through the tension. She dropped down from the monkey bars and was now standing beside him, her hand finding his. What's happening? Barbara looked down at the child, her resolve wavering for just a moment as she saw the genuine confusion and concern in Brittany's eyes. But her conviction that she was protecting the children in the playground overrode any doubt. You need to leave, she repeated, louder now. If you don't go, I really will call security. I am not joking, Barbara continued, pulling out her phone. I really will call them. Raymond looked down at his daughter, whose excitement about the playground had been replaced by worry. He could see other children watching from behind their parents, could feel the weight of assumptions being made about him, about his character, about his right to exist in this space with his child. All right, he said finally, the words tasting bitter. Come on, baby girl. Let's go get some ice cream instead. But as they turned to leave, Barbara wasn't finished. There's a man over there, she announced to the other parents, her voice carrying across the playground. And he's been watching the girls. The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Raymond stopped walking, his jaw clenching as he felt the stares intensify. This was beyond questioning his presence. This was character assassination. Excuse me, sir. Another parent approached, emboldened by Barbara's accusations. Why are you here? I already told her, Raymond replied, his patience wearing thin. I'm here with my daughter. He knelt down to Brittany's level, his voice gentle despite the storm raging inside him. Baby girl, can you please go down the slide one more time? Daddy needs to talk to these people. Brittany looked uncertain, but she nodded and ran toward the slide. Raymond watched her go, using those few seconds to compose himself before turning back to face his accusers. Look, he said, his voice steady but his eyes flashing with controlled anger. That's my daughter, Brittany. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, but we have every right to be here. I hope you're happy with yourselves. He started to turn away, but Barbara's voice stopped him. Next time, don't judge someone before you get to know them, she said, but her tone suggested she didn't believe her own words. Raymond turned back, his composure finally cracking. I still don't understand. Do you think I adopted her or something? Not that it's any of your business, but yes, I did adopt her. Have a blessed day. He called to Brittany and began walking toward the exit, but Barbara wasn't done. Well, that's a shame, she said, her voice carrying clearly across the playground. Raymond stopped walking. What did you say? I said it's a shame. Brittany probably would have had a much better life had she been adopted by her own people. The words hit like a physical blow. Other parents gasped, some looking away in embarrassment, others nodding in agreement. Raymond felt his hands shake with anger, but he forced himself to stay calm. Is that so? He asked, his voice dangerously quiet. How do you figure that? Barbara, emboldened by what she perceived as righteousness, continued her attack. Well, to start with, she would have a mother and a father, not a broken home like this. How do you know she doesn't have a mother? Raymond's voice was still controlled, but everyone could hear the steel beneath it. Look around. Barbara gestured broadly. What do you see? Moms. Moms playing with their children. I'm sure if Brittany had a mother, she would be here with her today. Unless, she paused dramatically. Unless she's working and you're just a freeloader. It's getting better, Raymond said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "What else do you think you know about me? Well, I mean, who's going to hire you with all those tattoos? You just seem to know everything about me, don't you?" The playground had become a theater, with parents and children as an unwilling audience to this confrontation. Some parents were already gathering their children, uncomfortable with the direction the conversation had taken. "How would you like it if I interrogated you about your baby daddy?" Raymond shot back, his composure finally beginning to crack. Barbara drew herself up to her full height, indignation radiating from every pore. "My husband is doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. In fact, he just got a job as vice president of a top construction company. He's making 6 figures, so you don't need to worry about him." Just then, Brittany ran up to them, her innocence a stark contrast to the ugly scene unfolding around her. "Daddy, can me and my friend go get ice cream after this?" Barbara looked down at the child, then at Raymond. "No, sweetheart. I don't think you should be friends with her." "But I want to," Brittany protested, not understanding the adult prejudices swirling around her. "I said no. Now, your father's waiting for us outside. We need to go." Raymond knelt down beside his daughter, his anger transforming into protective gentleness. "You don't have to take it out on the kids," he said to Barbara, then turned to Brittany. "Don't worry, baby girl. Everything's okay. Daddy's still taking you for ice cream. What kind of flavor are you going to get? I saw you eyeing that raspberry the other day." "Cookies and cream," Brittany announced, her mood brightening. "And I want 2 scoops." "2 scoops it is," Raymond said, standing up and taking her hand. As they walked toward the parking lot, Raymond tried to shake off the encounter, but the words echoed in his mind. He'd dealt with prejudice before, but having it directed at him in front of his daughter, having strangers question his fitness as a parent, cut deeper than usual. 20 minutes later, they sat in the air-conditioned comfort of Scoop's ice cream parlor, Brittany happily demolishing her double-scoop cone, while Raymond nursed a black coffee and tried to process what had happened. "Hey guys!" a cheerful voice called out. "How was the playground?" Raymond looked up to see his wife, Sarah, approaching their table. She was still in her business attire, having come straight from her law office. Her smile faded when she saw Raymond's expression. "It was interesting," Raymond said carefully, glancing at Brittany, who was too focused on her ice cream to pay attention to their conversation. "Stay in the car," Sarah said quietly. "I'll be right back." She had that look in her eye that Raymond knew well, the one that meant someone was about to get a piece of her mind. He watched through the window as she walked back toward the playground, her heels clicking with purpose. Sarah arrived at the playground just as Barbara was collecting her son from the swings. The confrontation that followed was brief but intense, with Sarah's legal training coming in handy as she systematically dismantled Barbara's assumptions and pointed out the potential legal ramifications of her accusations. When Sarah returned to the ice cream shop, she found Raymond and Brittany laughing over some silly joke. The sight of them together, this man who had opened his heart to a child who needed love, this little girl who had found safety and happiness after so much trauma, filled her with fierce protectiveness. "Everything okay?" Raymond asked as she slid into the booth beside him. "It will be," Sarah said, squeezing his hand. "Some people just need to learn that you can't judge a book by its cover." But the story wasn't over. As they prepared to leave the ice cream shop, Raymond's phone buzzed with a text from his assistant. "Mr. Williams, don't forget you have the Henderson interview tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the VP position." Raymond stared at the message, a slow smile spreading across his face. Henderson, the same last name as the woman who had just spent the afternoon telling him he was unemployable because of his tattoos. The next morning, Raymond sat in his corner office at Williams Construction, reviewing the resume of John Henderson. The man had impressive credentials: 15 years in construction management, a degree from a prestigious university, and glowing references from previous employers. On paper, he was exactly what Raymond was looking for in a vice president. At 9 a.m. sharp, there was a knock on his door. "Come in," Raymond called. The door opened, and John Henderson stepped inside, followed by his wife Barbara, who had apparently come to wish him luck. The moment Barbara saw Raymond sitting behind the massive mahogany desk, her face went white. "Mr. Williams," John said, extending his hand, "thank you for this opportunity. I'm very excited about the possibility of joining your team." Raymond stood up, his presence commanding in the elegant office space. Awards and commendations lined the walls, along with photos of major construction projects his company had completed. "Please have a seat. And you must be Mrs. Henderson?" Barbara could barely speak. The man she had accused of being a freeloader, unemployable, and unfit to parent was sitting in an office that screamed success and authority. "Ah, yes," she managed to stammer. "I believe we met yesterday," Raymond said calmly. At the playground, John looked confused, glancing between his wife and his potential employer. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Your wife and I had a conversation yesterday about assumptions," Raymond explained. "She made some very interesting observations about my character, my employment prospects, and my fitness as a parent." The color drained from John's face as he began to understand. "Barbara, what did you do?" I didn't know," Barbara whispered. "I thought I was protecting the children." "Protecting them from what exactly?" Raymond asked, his voice steady but his eyes intense. "From a father playing with his daughter? From a man who built this company from the ground up? From someone who took in a child who had nowhere else to go?" He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. "You know, Mrs. Henderson, you were right about one thing. Brittany did have a tough childhood. Her parents died in a car accident when she was 5. She went from foster home to foster home, never finding stability, never finding safety. When she came to us, she was broken, scared, and convinced that no one would ever love her enough to keep her." Raymond turned back to face them, his voice thick with emotion. "But you were wrong about everything else. She does have a mother, my wife Sarah, who is one of the most successful family lawyers in the city. She does have a stable home, filled with love and support. And she has a father who would do anything to protect her from the kind of prejudice you showed yesterday." Barbara was crying now, the weight of her assumptions and their consequences crashing down on her. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I should never have said those things." "No, you shouldn't have," Raymond agreed. "But the damage is done. My daughter saw a grown woman question my right to exist in the same space as her child. She heard you suggest that she would be better off with different parents. Do you have any idea what that does to a child who has already been abandoned once?" John looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "Sir, I understand if you don't want to hire me. What my wife did was inexcusable." Raymond studied the man for a long moment. "Your wife's prejudices are not your fault, Mr. Henderson. Your qualifications speak for themselves, and this company judges people based on their abilities, not their family members' shortcomings." He walked back to his desk and picked up a contract. "The position is yours if you want it. Vice President of Operations, 6-figure salary, full benefits. But I want to make something very clear. This company has a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind. That extends to family members and their interactions with our clients, partners, and community." John nodded vigorously. "Absolutely, sir. I understand completely." Raymond turned to Barbara. "Mrs. Henderson, I hope yesterday was a learning experience for you. I hope you'll think twice before making assumptions about people based on their appearance or their family situation. And I hope you'll teach your son that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of what they look like or where they come from." Barbara nodded, unable to speak through her tears. "There's one more thing," Raymond said, his tone softening slightly. My daughter asked me this morning if she could still be friends with your son. Despite everything that happened, she doesn't understand why adults can't just get along. If you're willing to set aside your prejudices, I think it would be good for both of our children to learn that people can overcome their differences. Yes, Barbara managed to say. Yes, I would like that very much. As the Hendersons left his office, Raymond sat back down at his desk and picked up the framed photo of him and Brittany from the day her adoption was finalized. Her smile was radiant, her eyes bright with hope and love. This was what he fought for. Not just his right to be treated with dignity, but his daughter's right to grow up in a world where she would be judged by her character, not her circumstances. His phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. How did the interview go? Raymond smiled as he typed back. Better than expected. I think we're going to have some interesting neighbors at the next school fundraiser. That evening, as Raymond tucked Brittany into bed, she looked up at him with serious eyes. Daddy, why was that lady so mean to you yesterday? Raymond considered his answer carefully. Sometimes, baby girl, people get scared of things they don't understand. They make up stories in their heads about who someone is without getting to know them first. But that's not fair, Brittany said, her voice small. No, it's not fair, Raymond agreed. But you know what? Today that lady learned something important. She learned that you can't judge someone by how they look or where they come from. You have to look at what's in their heart. And what's in your heart, Daddy? Love for you, baby girl. More love than you can imagine. Brittany smiled and closed her eyes, safe in the knowledge that no matter what anyone else thought, she was exactly where she belonged. Outside, the lights of the city twinkled like stars, and Raymond Williams, successful businessman, devoted father, and living proof that love knows no boundaries, settled in for another night of dreams about a better tomorrow for his daughter and all the children who just wanted to play on the playground without fear.